Thank you. Well, I guess I'm at that point in life where I get to talk about creative aging. So I'm going to do that. I'm a writer and photographer, as you know. I think my pictures are going to pop up here, and you get to see some of the farm that I live in. I want to talk a lot about what it means to get old in America. I have my own ideas about creative aging, which I'm going to share with you. I'm going to first divert a bit and tell you a story about a person who has inspired me in this subject. He was actually a Jewish pirate. Some of you look shocked. You probably didn't know they were Jewish pirates. I just learned this myself this year. And had I known they were Jewish pirates when I was young, my life would be very different today. Moses Cohen Enriquez was a refugee from the Spanish Inquisition. And as he fled the Inquisition and he got older in life, he decided to seek revenge on the Spanish, and by seizing a Spanish galleon and treasure ship. So he got himself a ship and he went to the Caribbean, and he did a lot of research and figured out where one of the Spanish treasure ships was. And so he decided to capture the ship in the Jewish way by talking the captain into surrendering, which he did. And he seized the Spanish galleon, and he then became a consultant, retired from active pirating, and consulted with other pirates. So he's become a great inspiration to me in my dealings with the medical community and the other issues of aging. I want to tell you a few stories about aging, which I think has become a great challenge in America. You know, I think sometimes in America it's become a fear machine. I think the machines of law, politics, medicine, healthcare start scaring people when they're younger and work up to it when they get older, when they can really scare them in a good way. This week I saw some examples of that. I got a friendly email from my utility company. One of the iPhone began beeping an alarm that a catastrophe was coming. And it turns out there was a wind alert of 30 to 50 mile an hour winds. And it said, if you're in this area and you're old and you're elderly and you're older than 65, do not go out of the house. Stay in the house and alert other people to come and keep an eye on you. So I was delighted to hear this. I said to my wife, I don't have to feed the donkeys this morning, do I? I have to stay in the house. She said, get dressed, get out, get the hat. It didn't work. The same morning, I got an email from my healthcare provider. And it said, good morning, John. I said, preventive medicine plays an important part in your health. You may be surprised to know you are overdue for a colonoscopy, a foot exam with your primary care provider, a urine protein check, a pneumonial vaccine, a lipid test, an eye exam for diabetes, and a flu shot. And so I emailed them back and I said, do you have any preventative programs for having a life that doesn't involve going to pharmacies and doctors and getting tests? I would like to hear about that. And the doctor wrote back and said, oh, you're very amusing. We get a kick out of you. He said, we don't really look for health. So this was illustrative to me. You know, last year I began to confront this issue of what health means when you're older. And I went to see a naturopath in Vermont. And he's an MD who fled the conventional medical system to try to come up with a more holistic approach to medicine. And we had a good talk. It was about an hour talk, which I'd never really had with a doctor before. And he asked me 100 questions. And the last question was the most revealing to me. He said, do you love anything about your life? And I said, I love everything about my life. I love my wife, I love my work, I love my farm, I love my animals, I love my writing, I love my pictures. And he said, well, then you're healthy. And I wanted to cry, because I thought, wow, what a great way to look at life, and what a great way to look at health. I think getting older means being very creative about what you listen to and what you don't listen to. And unfortunately, the institutions that are supposed to take care of us have all become corporatized, and aging has become a great profit center in America. So it's really hard to know who to trust and who to listen to. So you really have to trust and listen to yourself. I am not spending the holidays going to get all these tests. I feel good and I'm healthy. And if I have trouble, I'll let them know. And I think it's very important. Everybody has to develop their own rationale. You know, health is one area where aging is a challenge. Another is the sort of ideology of downsizing. Downsizing has become sort of the idea of getting older. When you get older, you need to begin pulling in your life. I had to confront this a few years ago, maybe 4 years ago, when I got divorced after a 35-year marriage. The same week the recession arrived, and the same week publishing as I knew it ceased to exist in America. Also was diagnosed with diabetes too. It was a good week. But it brought me head to head with this whole idea of what it means to get older and how to get older well. You know, a friend of mine called me up around that time, and he said, well, I'm downsizing now. You know, he lived in Montclair, and he said, I'm giving up this house that I loved and have lived in for 30 years and always wanted to have. I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm moving to a condo in Jersey City. He said, I need to downsize. I said, well, why do you need to downsize? He said, well, I'm just tired of doing the lawn. I said, but you never did the lawn. You always hired people from other countries to do your lawn. And your lawn is the size of my bathroom carpet anyway. And he said, no, I have to downsize. And I really felt that over the course of the next year or two, I felt he was diminished. I felt his life was diminished. There's nothing wrong with downsizing. It can be a good move for people. But I think it wasn't an idea for him. It was sort of an ideology. He just felt it was something he had to do. At that point, I decided to upsize. I bought a farm in upstate New York. I got some donkeys. I have some dogs. I got a dog from Ireland. You can see some of the donkeys here. I remarried. I decided to have sex again without the help of my friendly doctor, who didn't seem to be interested in my penis if my stream was okay. And I decided to start a blog, which now has 175,000 people a month on it. I became a hospice volunteer. I became a photographer. And I found that at that point in life, my life really began to broaden and really began to open up. And I think the idea of, I hear oohing and ahhing, that's Simon. That's the donkey the New York State Police brought me. Took off a farm and charged the farmer with neglect. This is a great example of opening up and downsizing. I think for me, the last 3 or 4 years have been nothing but joy, nothing but opening up, nothing but learning and growing. I became a teacher. I think it's a wonderful part of aging is sharing what you know. So I think it's very, very important when you get older to develop your own ideas about what getting older means. And you need to really do it when you're young, which is when they start terrifying you about what you're going to need when you're old. I don't happen to have a long-term health care insurance, so I might be living downstairs in a few years. And I'm having a good time of it. So I think those ideas are really very important. You know, in my own story, I remember when I started to have a lot of trouble, I went to see a therapist, and he said, what do you want in life? And I said, I want love in life. I don't want to live a loveless life. And he said, well, that's a lot of change for somebody who's 61 years old to be undertaking. And so I got on with it, and I have that. So I ended up writing a manifesto, which I'm going to share with you. It's like a book reading. I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to tell you one other story before I do that. I was at a mall recently, and a woman in a nurse's uniform came out. And she said, are you over 60? And I said, well, yes. And I was actually flattered because I'm 66. And she said, well, we'd like to give you a coupon for Applebee's. And I said, well, that's really great. What do I have to do for that? She said, well, you have to take a cancer screening. I said, a cancer screening? Yes, we're giving cancer screenings, and all the people who take it will get a coupon for Applebee's. And she opened a door, and there were 70, 80 people in there, and they're all being cancer screened. And I said, well, gee, that's very generous of you. You know, it's wonderful, but I don't really want to go to dinner if I have cancer. I don't think that would be a lot. You know, I think I'd really rather go to dinner first and have the cancer screening some other time, if you don't mind. And she said, well, you know, you want to be careful as you get older. You want to be really careful. I said, well, I can be careful after dinner if that's okay. So being older is being confronted with these things all the time. Every single day, somebody is challenging me to define myself and define who I am and what I want to do and how I want to be. I was on a book tour. I'm on a book tour. And I have the same media escort every year from Dayton, Ohio. She's really a wonderful person. She's a bus driver. When she's not driving the bus, she drives writers around because they don't go to Dayton all that often. And her phone kept beeping, this catastrophic alert. And I said, what's that? And she said, oh, that tells me when the stock market is crashing. When the stock market goes down, my phone beeps. I said, but you don't have any money. You wouldn't be driving writers around if you had any money. No, I don't have any money, she said. But I just want to know if I want to be prepared. I want to be ready. You know, being a father in Montclair, I remember when my daughter was going to school, and every week she would come home with a different warning. Don't be pregnant, about liquor, about alcohol, about smoking. And this is what I feel like when I'm getting older. So I want to read you my manifesto. It's my first manifesto of my life. I'm very proud of it. I put it in my iPhone, and I carry it around when I need it, which is often, I have to say. Okay. Aging is not about one thing, but many things. Some of them beautiful, some of them painful and humbling. There is a lot of pressure in America on people who are growing older. We are told, never asked, all the time, to accept things that will keep us alive and healthy forever, without thought, at any cost, without choice. We are bombarded with warnings and cautions, and when that idea of eternal life and health falls to the ground, as it inevitably must, we are blamed for not being able to figure out how to afford the life that was chosen for us by others. I have been a hospice volunteer for 6 years, and I have never met a patient who died regretting that he or she had not made more money, or bought more long-term health insurance, or had a fatter IRA account. It can be lonely growing older in America. We have few mirrors in which to guide us or see our own reflections. We are on our own. Those of us who are beginning to be old, who are already there, are not a demographic the marketers seek. As a result, we have vanished from the popular culture. You will not hear our voices on television or see our faces if you follow the news, read magazines, look at the ads, go to the movies. In those depressing novels from Brooklyn, we are mostly doddering and sexless old fossils, withering expensively on the vine. So I am learning to be creative and positive and strong about getting older. I have written my own manifesto, my first ever. I keep it in my iPhone. I read it when it is necessary to remind myself who I am and not who they tell me that I am. When you fall in love with your own life, your own heart, life will clap for you. How to get older in America. Number one, I will never downsize my mind or my life. I will never cease to be open to life. A closed mind is the first and saddest death, the death of the mind. Number two, I will never complain about the young and talk about how they are not as hardworking, thoughtful, or responsible as I was. I will never talk about the good old days. They were never really all that good. And I am not here to turn the clock back. Number three, my life is not about my health. That is not my currency, my dialogue with the world, my wife, my friends. That is not what defines me. I do not discuss my health with strangers, except for you. And everyone else watching a TED Talk. I do not greet them by asking them about their health. I do not define myself by tests and procedures, my life bounded by visits to the pharmacy. I will decide what health means to me, not some numbers in a blood test, not some pharmaceutical or insurance company or some government agency. Number four, I embrace and accept new technologies, new realities, not as unwanted intrusions, but as the parade of change that defines a fulfilled life at any age. Nostalgia is a trap, our lives what we make of them. So I have a blog, bedlamfarm.com. I do podcasts, I take videos. I meet my readers where they are, not where they used to be or where I wish they were. My blog is my face in the mirror, is my message to the world. 3 years ago, at age 63, I remarried in the old barn on the farm I bought when I was 57 years old. I was beginning life anew. At the wedding, I read from the poet Mary Oliver's great anthem, Mornings at Blackwater. So come to the pond or the river of your imagination and the harbor of your longing and put your lips to the world and live your life. Number five, I do not apologize for growing older. I know where I am and what I can and cannot do. Growing old in America is not a shame, a dark cloud hanging over my head. I am proud of my life, of where I am. There is so much dignity in growing old. Growing older is not the time of apology, it is the age of wisdom. We have nothing to lose by being authentic. We are approaching the night. Number six, I will not trade a full life now for an empty life later. I will not permit others to define my life in exchange for money. I will not live a life cast in fear and built on the cruel illusion of security. There is no such thing. Number seven, I joyously delight in refusing to accept 15-cent senior discounts on coffee from Dunkin' Donuts or $1.10 off my birdseed at the hardware store. I am happy to tell the teenage cashiers that I can afford a cup of coffee and a bag of seed. If they really care about me, then please give my discount to young people with children. They are in greater need. I am not a worthy cause. Number eight, I approach growing older with acceptance, not denial, with grace, not avoidance, with the embrace of the new, not withdrawal and retreat. Joseph Campbell cautions that you better know where you are in life when the mask comes off. And isn't that what growing older is really about? The mask comes off, and for good. We don't need it anymore. Fear is a ghost. You can put your finger right through his heart. Number 9, we're almost done. I am living a meaningful life without much money. I will die a meaningful death with thought and strength. I do not have long-term health insurance. How I die is another way of determining how I have lived. And whose choice is this, if not mine? And finally, and perhaps the most important, I will tell you this straight from the heart. Number 10, do not ever give up on love, even when everyone and everything around you conspires to make you believe it is lost to you and can never be found again. That is the death of the soul, the body left a hollow shell. Crisis and mystery are just around the corner always. So are love and joy. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you. Thank you.